I stood up from the couch to like leave, and I felt a small gushing sensation. And I thought, oh, I think I just peed myself. And then I looked at Kenny and thinking, like, I don't know what just happened. I think I peed. But like in my head, I was like, that didn't really feel like pee. So I went to the bathroom, sat down, peed. I was like, okay, it was pee. I just peed in my pants and now I peed more. I'll be fine. Immediately stood up from the toilet, more gushed out. I think, oh crap. Okay, this feels weird. I don't know what's happening.
Welcome back, everyone. It's the day we've been waiting for.
Hello.
That's the sound of Kayla here in studio with me for real. Welcome
I'm
back.
so excited to be back. It feels good. It's been a long time.
I know. Y'all, we were just discussing this pre-starting that it feels like the first time.
I feel awkward again. Who am I now? I don't even know who I am anymore.
Oh my god. Okay, but anyway, as I promised in all of my solo episodes, Kayla is back to business. And she has a baby, as we've discussed, and she has her birth story locked and loaded for us. So I think that, so that I don't waste any time, my question this week is just, how's it going?
Oh man. It's going. Life is crazy. Yeah, I feel like I'm a new person. The first what has it been? 4 or 5? No, it's been about 6 weeks in real life. That I have not been recording or doing anything. And yeah, I just feel like a whole different world. But it's great. I'm out of the like really newborn fog, but I'm still trying to figure things out, but we're in a good, not schedule, but rhythm, I think is what you mentioned earlier. So, yeah, doing good. Crazy. I have a whole story and I hope everyone's interested in actually how it went. If anyone is pregnant or expecting, or if you have given birth, I just feel like it's always fun to share like the actual birth story. I loved listening to birth stories when I was pregnant because it was giving me, kind of expectations of what to expect, good and bad. So I feel like sharing my story will be hopefully helpful and entertaining to some people. So, yes.
I'll be, for those listening, I'll be raising my hand to ask questions so that I don't interrupt. But I have not heard this in its entirety. So
I know.
my reactions
We saved
are
this.
real reactions. I mean, obviously, nerds, I knew that he was born before you. Kiss my ass. But I don't know all the deets because Kayla has been in the thick, and I have been gone. So this is fresh and authentic as promised, per usual. Okay,
I love it. Okay, perfect. When you raise your hand, I'll just go like this so you can shoot your shot.
That's how we got here.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, let me start so we can get into this. I told a few people, Kaylee obviously knows this, but I told a few people that I was going to do a home birth. I was really excited. It's a little taboo still. I feel like some people were like, could be judgmental or like, why would you do that? That's so unsafe. Or I can't believe you would even think of that. What if something goes wrong? So honestly, I was really excited because A, I did my research and I felt very comfortable with it. And B, because you don't know me, I wanted to prove everyone wrong. I know that's a horrible way to think about it, but doing my research as a healthy adult with a healthy pregnancy, giving birth at home made way more sense in my position because typically a lot of hospital procedures could lead to interventions, and interventions could lead to more interventions, which could lead to potential complications. Not all the time. This by no means like bashing the hospital, but there are just some procedures in place that don't make sense or didn't make sense to me in my position while I was pregnant. So that was a plan. I was going to like labor in the shower at home. I was going to be able to walk around. I was going to be able to eat. I had a birth tub. We were going to set that up, give birth in the water, hopefully. Anyway, I was so excited to tell that story. That is not my story. And that's okay. Because I believe like Kaylee mentioned on the solo episodes, my son came early. He was 4 weeks early. So I was completely like not expecting that. I thought I had a month to plan, like get the supplies. I had nothing washed. The nursery wasn't fully done. Mentally, I wasn't ready to be a family of 3 and like completely, let go of the life that I was living. So it all started on Kenny's birthday, which was May 17th. His birthday, we like went shopping. We went to get crumble cookie, if anyone knows what that is. We were sitting at home, and I was about to leave to go pick up barbecue from this good barbecue place that's down the road from us. And I stood up from the couch to like leave, and I felt a small gushing sensation. And I thought, oh, I think I just peed myself. And then I looked at Kenny and thinking, like, oh, I don't know what just happened. I think I peed. But like in my head, I was like, that didn't really feel like pee. So I went to the bathroom, sat down, peed. I was like, okay, it was pee. I just peed in my pants and now I peed more. I'll be fine. Immediately stood up from the toilet, more gushed out. I think, oh crap. Okay. This feels weird. I don't know what's happening. Let me just go run and get the food. We'll figure it out. I'll text my midwives. Yeah, I'll text my midwife, let her know. So as I'm driving to the restaurant, it's like 15 minutes away, I'm feeling the gushes in the car. They're small. It's not like pool of water coming out, but the small gushes that definitely feel like something. I get to the restaurant, I text the midwives. As I'm waiting for a response, I walk into the restaurant. As soon as I step out of the car to walk into the restaurant, it is very much coming out now. And I'm wobbling into the restaurant and saying, oh, I have a pickup order for Kayla. Trying not to, I know. I'm trying to hide the fact that my water is breaking in the restaurant. And B, I'm trying to keep it together because in my head, I'm now realizing that this could be the real deal. So I'm processing all this. Get back in the car. My midwives call me and they're like, you're going to have to go to the hospital. And I'm thinking, no, I'm ruining Kenny's birthday. I have to go to the hospital. It's going to ruin his night. That sucks. And they told me, you need to pack a hospital bag. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, we'll go in. Maybe I need to be on bed rest the last 4 weeks. They'll make sure, I'm good to go. We'll go back home and I'll rest. They said, no, you need to pack a bag to bring a baby home. And I was thinking, holy shit, you've got to be kidding me. I'm not ready. And unfortunately, so in Texas, you have to be 37 weeks pregnant to be able to do a home birth. I was 35 and 6, which means I was 35 weeks and 6 days, or excuse me, 5 days. So I was pretty much a week before I was able to give birth at home. So everything is kind of like processing. I'm on my way home and I pretty much bawl the whole way home because I'm realizing I have to give birth in the place that I didn't want to give birth, which was the hospital. For me, that was my desire. So I come home, I'm bawling. Kenny's like, what's wrong? I'm like, we gotta go to the hospital. I think we're gonna have this baby. And it took us a whole 2 hours to realize what was actually happening. And it took us 2 hours to get everything ready because we didn't have anything ready. I was like, what do you even pack in a hospital bag? I wasn't preparing to go to the hospital. We have no clothes washed. I don't know what to bring. I'm Googling what to bring in a hospital bag. We're trying to wash some clothes real quick. I'm trying to eat in between me bawling, in between water gushing out randomly. I'm just like, oh my God. It was the most intense, stressful, holy shit, what is happening like 5 hours, I would say. So anyway, we get this stuff done. I'm like, oh, we have to do this. Like it's go time now, baby. So we get all this stuff ready. We did not pack very well, but it is what it is. We made it work. We got all this stuff ready. We drive into the hospital, which is probably a good 45 minutes, which is actually really good because I had 45 minutes to process more and continue to cry because all of my hopes and dreams and my dream birth was pretty much going out the window. And it was really, really sad because I had done so much research and I was so prepared to give birth at home that now that I couldn't, I was just kind of a hot mess. So by the time we got into Austin and got to the hospital, it was like 10:30. Got in, checked in, took forever. We registered in the hospital around like midnight on the 18th. So now it's the 18th, midnight. At this point, I'm feeling mild cramps, like mild period cramps. I'm not having like true contractions yet. So mild period cramps, and we're just like getting settled. I chose not to put on the hospital gown because I'm like, let me try to make this as like home birthy as possible. So I got a ball. I'm in like this dress with some compression socks. I was really looking like I don't know, it was funny. My outfit was, maybe I'll have a picture I could show, but let me look at my notes. So around 1 o'clock in the morning, so like an hour later, I could start feeling like more of a definitive, like up and down type of crampy feeling. Like there was more of a point to it. Like, oh, is this a contraction? So they were only coming, I don't know, like 6 to 8 minutes apart. So nothing crazy. And then the other thing that was unfortunate, because I hadn't taken a GBS test yet, that's basically for some kind of bacterial, I think, that can be in your vaginal canal or your butt. You have to test negative, or if you test positive, you have to have antibiotics. So because I didn't have the test, they had to assume I was positive. So unfortunately, I had to be put on antibiotics, which was another thing I didn't want to do. But of course, we're going to do that for, the baby, just in case I was positive. Spoiler alert, I was negative, come to find out. But yeah, anyway. So they have to give me antibiotics every 4 hours, which, by the way, it stings when they go into your body. Like it stings because apparently there's potassium in it or something. So yeah, it was so dumb. And then I'm hooked up to the freaking IV thing. Ugh, anyway. So these are all the things that I was trying to avoid in home birth. What else? Okay, so a couple hours go by. They decide to check me because we're like, what's going on? Where are you? How are you progressing? I am at a 1 to 2 centimeters at 3 a.m. So at this point, let me go back. My water broke. I'm using air quotes. My water started gushing at 7:40 p.m. on the 17th. So, sorry, like 6, 7 hours go by and I'm at a 1 or 2 centimeters. So, like, not that great. Mm-hmm.
Can you, for the people in the back, remind us what is the full centimeters?
Yes. If you look at a Ben & Jerry's small little container of ice cream, it is the diameter of that. Isn't that crazy? It's 10 centimeters. Oh, yeah.
I feel like honestly, I thought 10 centimeters was bigger than that. That's big for what your cervix is doing, but the actual visual of it for an ice cream container, I would picture centimeters to be more. Okay.
No, yeah, it's 10 centimeters. So you have to be effaced, which is your cervix thinning out, and then you have to be dilated, which is your cervix opening, and then the baby has to come down. So there's positions or stations. So -1, 0, 1, 2, whatever. So there's like 3 different ways to measure it, but I was 1 to 2 centimeters open and 70% effaced at that point at 3 a.m. So like some progress, but not a whole lot of progress. And at this point, like the contractions, which I was calling waves because it felt a little bit more doable if I called them waves. Some people have different words for it. But the waves were coming. I could feel them, but it was still totally manageable at that point. So I was making notes too while I was in labor because I knew I was going to do this podcast and because I wanted it for my own personal like story. So I took copious notes while I could up until a certain point. So I said 7:47 a.m. This is still on the 18th. Still breathing through the waves and relaxing and opening up. So it's interesting because your jaw is actually connected to your cervix. So like going through birthing classes and like educational podcasts and stuff, if you can relax your jaw and stay like low, then your cervix is more likely to be relaxed and can open up a little bit, which is maybe sounds woo woo, but I was like, let me do anything I can. So to get through the contractions that were starting to pick up, I'll demonstrate the noises I was making because I feel like it really helped. So instead of like, like really loud and high pitched, you go.
I can't wait.
This is.
Kayla, I think you've been preparing your whole life for this because I've heard you make those noises so many times. I can't think
Really?
of
What
when
was
you
the
would do it.
circumstance? Oh my
But I have
gosh.
definitely no, you know what it is? It's what you do when you're like tired on the couch. You're like, oh, and then you like
Yeah,
melt into the couch. You've been practicing your whole life.
that's really funny. So yeah, just like open jaw, relaxed, low notes because that's supposed to like try to help like, open up the lower end of your body. So I was doing my best to like keep it low, keep it open, just be like open, 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 aka open up fast so I can get this over with because I'm getting nervous. Uh, let me tell you, the hospital room that we were in had 0 windows. So that was weird. I did not know what time it was. And it was super dark, obviously. Kenny was with me, obviously, all the way through this whole process. I did have a doula and a midwife. The doula ended up coming on the 18th, but not this early. We're at like 3 a.m. right now. She ends up coming around like noon or so. But anyway, I'll get there in a second.
So
Um,
sorry, I'm trying to recap your
mhm,
timeline. The
mhm,
18th. Wait, Kenny's birthday is the 17th.
mhm. That's when my water broke.
So you guys
We,
go in and then you're checking in. It rolls over to midnight rolls over. It's now
mhm.
3 a.m. the morning of the 18th.
Yes. Yep.
But it's still just been one long day for you.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for recapping. So yeah, we're on the 18th at I don't know what happens between 7:47 a.m. and 1:20 p.m. I guess I'm just going through the motions and getting through contractions. I really don't. I lost track of time a lot. Um, so at this point, it's 1:20 p.m. still on the 18th. They do another vaginal check, and I'm only at a 2.5 centimeter. So I've only gained like a half a centimeter, maybe a centimeter. So that was discouraging. I was 90% of face, so at least like the cervix was thinning, but I was not getting any bigger or like open. So I'm like, shoot, this is gonna take a while. The other thing that we have to keep in mind is my water broke at 7:40 p.m. on the 17th. Typically, most hospitals and most midwives, honestly, you have basically 24 hours before they'll start wanting to do interventions to get things going because there's more risk of infection after your water breaks. So once you hit the 24-hour mark, it's kind of, you need to decide what you're going to do. Like, we need to do some things to get things going. So that was in the back of my head. I knew that there was a time limit, essentially, before they started pressing me. And so that was a little stressful. So I'm feeling discouraged at this point. Kenny had a brilliant idea of going outside. He's like, can we go outside? We have no windows. I think she needs some fresh air. There was a courtyard in the hospital. So we bribed them. We didn't bribe them. We just had to ask a couple people to let us go down there, which is so dumb. We go down there to the courtyard. Such a good little time because we got to walk around. We got to get out of the atmosphere. It was just Kenny and I. And we got to talk about this is what we did this for. Like, you get to meet your son soon. This is the culmination of everything we've talked about for years and years and years. What does he look like? What's he going to be like? You know, it was just such a fun moment to talk about it and get excited again. And then he was cracking jokes and was like daring me to dance. And I did a little wave in the courtyard. That was funny. And then what else did we talk about outside? Yeah, it was just a good moment. It was a refresh that I needed. But we could only stay out down there for 30 minutes because, you know, monitoring things and hospital things. So we stayed out there for 30 minutes. Um Went back up. In between all this time, I'm eating, I'm drinking water, I'm trying to stay hydrated. They eventually ended up giving me an IV bag of fluid, but I didn't have that until um, quite a bit later. So 8 p.m. rolls around, and now the 24-hour mark has passed. And contractions are getting stronger, but we're not in a place where things are progressing fast enough. And at that point, the doctor, she was really nice. She came in, she said, we're at 24 hours. Ultimately, the decision is yours, but we need to talk about the pros and cons of continuing on just how you're going or starting Pitocin and seeing if we can pick things up. So Pitocin, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically chemically inducing contractions to get things moving faster. So it's not, it basically can make it more intense, and it's synthetic contractions prompted by the medicine to, you know, get things moving faster. It's people who go in to get induced go in and usually get put on Pitocin. That was the one thing that I was trying to avoid. In my head, I told him immediately when I got there, I don't want to do Pitocin. I don't want to do an epidural. I want to do as naturally as possible because that was the plan at home. So that was a whole other thing to wrap my head around. And I was so scared because I was thinking, if I do Pitocin, and I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but it was such a mental thing. If I start this, it's going to get really hard because the contractions are going to get even worse. And then I'm going to have to get an epidural. And that was the one thing I was trying to avoid, is the epidural. So I was really scared, and that's why I was putting it off. Because I've heard so many stories of people when they start Pitocin, it gets so intense and they end up getting the epidural.
Also, how many hours have you been awake at this point? Because
I
you've been in the
mean,
hospital for 24, but you had at least been up for probably 12 before that.
yeah, probably 10 or 12.
And it's not like you were just sitting around like picking your nose. Like your body is like working.
Yeah.
Anyway, I felt the
I
need to
did.
point that out.
No, I thank you. I appreciate it. I did take a couple naps that night we got there, like midnight through maybe 6, because they weren't too terrible at that point. But definitely was not in. I was trying to rest as much as possible because I knew things were going to get tough. And if I was going to do it without an epidural, I needed to be like as rested as humanly possible. But it wasn't like I took a deep sleep that night, you know.
I mean, I'm an emotional D-bag after midnight. I mean, I can't imagine being up for that long and actually like doing something and then having to make these major decisions. So,
yeah. And poor Kenny had to sleep on that most uncomfortable couch in the universe. So I told him, you need to sleep during the night because I'm going to need you when this kicks in, you know, when this starts to get intense. So you sleep. I was trying to sleep. I don't know what I was even doing, to be honest. I think I was just in my head, like thinking and praying and wrapping my head around everything because everything was going completely in the opposite direction of what I had planned for a whole month early. So, anyway, doctor had the conversation with us about the Pitocin. I look at Kenny and we have a serious heart to heart. And, you know, we decide like we have to do what's right for our son and we don't want to risk infection. He had to give me a whole pep talk on, you know, you can do this even if it gets harder. Like, you got this. So we tell the doctor, Okay, let's start the Pitocin. It takes like a whole hour, hour and a half for them to actually come in and start it, which I wasn't complaining about. In my head, I was thinking, okay, in the next, any moment now, just hurry things up before they get back in here and maybe I won't have to have it. But that didn't work. So they came in, it was 10:40 p.m. when we actually started the Pitocin, which they connected to the IV. So now I'm really strapped to the IV, which is incredibly annoying. The what do they call it? Like the pole of, yeah, the thing you have to drag
Yeah,
around
the
if you want to
IV
go to the
pole.
bathroom. Thank you. That's a pain in the a hole.
Were you
Mm-hmm.
IV in your like up on your top of your wrist?
No, thankfully, because I was like, using my hands a lot to adjust. They put it in my upper forearm. Yeah, yeah, that was nice. Still was not great, but it was better than my hand. The other thing was they had the fetal monitoring situation on my stomach, which was also connected to something. So at one point, I was asking them, can we do something about this? Because this is very inconvenient. I'm strapped to one pole on my left side and I'm strapped to the fetal monitoring on the other side. Can we do something? So at one point during that night, or in the middle of the morning, midnight to 7, they switched it over to the wireless, which was great. So that was awesome. But it becomes a problem later, and I'll get to that in a second. So, 10:40 p.m. on the 18th. I've been there almost 24 hours basically at the hospital. They start Pitocin, and we've gone through like 5 nurses at this point. I feel like I don't know, just so many nurses come in, and it was a whirlwind of nurses and doctors and oh, I have this 12-hour shift and I'll be back in the morning. And I was thinking, I don't want to see you in the morning. I want to be gone. Like, I don't want to see you. But anyway, midnight rolls around. It's now the 19th. So water broke on the 17th. I'm going through all of the 18th in the hospital. Now it's midnight on the 19th. I'm officially 36 weeks on the dot. So I was 35 and 5 when my water broke, 35 and 6 on the 18th, and then now I'm exactly 36 weeks. So 36 weeks exactly. Contractions are definitely picking up. I think I'm in La La Land, or like they call it Labor Land, because I was so in my head, determined to get through this, that things started kind of getting weird at this point. But my notes, 2 a.m. I wrote down contractions are averaging 1 minute and 15 seconds long, which is god awfully long when you're when you're talking about a contraction. 2:45, I vomit. So my doula's here at this point. She was a godsend. Like, I mean, hands down, the best decision we've ever made is to get a doula. If you're giving birth, wherever you give birth, whoever you are out there, I would 1000% suggest a doula. OMG. She was amazing. She brought me watermelon because I requested that. She was there mentally, emotionally, lots of massage. At this point, she's giving me a lot of massage on my lower back and like hip squeezes and stuff. And I looked at her and I said, my back really, really hurts. Is this back labor? Because I don't really know, I don't know what to expect. I said, is this back labor? She said, I don't really know. So I'll come back to that in a second. Anyway, I end up vomiting. They give me a bag. I'm thinking, oh, maybe this transition, like I'm getting somewhere. Because usually when you vomit, it means, something's happening. And then at 3:15ish, 3:30, I'm like, can I get in the shower? There's a shower right in the bathroom. Can I get in the shower? I'm having pretty serious labor pains now. I'd love to get some heat on my back. Great. Go in there with the stupid IV pole. It's like hanging out. It feels so good to get the hot water on my back. That was the first time, the whole time I was in the hospital, where I was like, okay, I can do this. I can freaking do this. The shower is amazing. I can labor in here and no problem. 10 minutes go by. Nurse comes in. The electric fetal monitoring that you have on your stomach is not being read across the room. So you can only stay in here in 15-minute increments. I am devastated at this point because this was the only thing that was making me feel better. And I was thinking, you've got to be kidding me. I can go in the shower for 15 minutes and then I have to be out for 30 and then I can go back in. Well, by the time I get out of the shower, I'm freezing now because, you're just all over the place. The water was so hot. I'm freezing. I'm like, I can't even get back in. This is ridiculous. I don't want to do this again. But did I? No, I didn't get. Yes, here we go. So I got out of the shower. I looked at Kenny and this is the first time I told him, I didn't essentially say the words, I don't think I can. Well, I said the words, I don't think I can do this. I never said, I think I need an epidural, but that's kind of where I was going. I told him, like he could tell I was not in a good place. And I was so disappointed. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do this. This is getting too hard. How much longer do we have to go? So I remember sitting on the toilet after I got out of the shower. And the other funny moment between him and I was, we have a joke that's like, what's your name? I was like, Kayla Brooks. And he said, no, what's your motherfucking name? And I said, Kayla motherfucking Brooks. And that was perfect because it got me going again. It was great. He was my hype man. But I did look at him and I was like, I think I need another check because if I'm not in a certain point now, I think I'm gonna have to I don't know, aka get an epidural. So long story short, they end up coming back in eventually around 4 a.m. Checked me. I'm at a 7. I was thinking I can freaking do this. I can freaking do this. 7's not too far away from 10. So I'm good. The other thing that they suggested though while they did the cervical check is they realized that the leak that I had that was causing my water to gush out was probably a high bag leak, which I guess means that the water was coming from the upper ends of the bag. I don't know. Anyway, they said if you consent, we could do a slow leak at the bottom to kind of drop his head down. And I said, okay, I don't love that idea, but if it's going to get things going, before you do it though, can you make sure he's in a good position? I don't want him to drop super fast with if he has the umbilical cord around his neck, blah, blah, blah. So they're kind of feeling around on the outside. They're not doing much. I'm like, yeah, he's fine. He's in a great position. Okay, go for it. They do that. It wasn't some people say once you have your water break, it kind of feels like a lot of pressure drops, but they did a very slow leak, so I didn't feel any of that, which was good. I end up going back in the shower once more for 10 minutes. And at this point, the contractions are a minute apart. So things are getting super intense. My midwife has now also come into the hospital. I actually had 2 midwives. I had one midwife and a midwife assistant. Fun fact, if I had it at home, one midwife is solely focused on me medically. The other midwife is focused on baby medically. And the doula would be there for emotional support and massage, what she did. But hospital rules, technically you're only supposed to have 2 visitors, which Kenny is included as a visitor, which is nonsense in my opinion. I know. The doula was the second one. We basically, I don't know how my midwife, the main one, talked her way into it, but she has a good relationship with them. So she was able to come, but the midwife assistant was not able to come in, so she had to go back home. Okay. So, midwife's there, doula's there, Kenny's there, contractions are 1 minute apart. I am now, wow, what is happening? Just in La La Land. Didn't know what time it was because we had no windows in the room. I thought it was maybe 2 a.m. This is 5 a.m. now. I feel like I have to poop. And I'm telling people, I think I have to poop, which in my head means he's getting lower. It's happening hopefully soon. At one point, I don't remember when, it's not in my notes, but at one point, I'm feeling really pushy and we're getting into different positions and I'm laying on my side on the bed and I'm having contractions and doing the noises and just totally trying to let go. And then literally viscerally at the end, it would be and I'm pushing. Sorry, this is so weird to do on a microphone, but I'm just really painting the picture for you guys. I start feeling pushy though, and it is something that I can't control. And it is just happening at the end of a contraction. And the nurse walked in and she heard me do that a couple times. And she was like, please stop pushing. Don't push anymore. Like, we need to get the doctor. I didn't respond because in my head, I did this too. In my head, I'm giving the finger. In my head, I'm like, fuck you. I'm going to keep pushing. My body's obviously doing this naturally. You can kiss my ass. But sure, yeah, we'll wait for the doctor, even though I knew my midwife was there. And then I turned to my midwife and she's like, just do what your body's telling you. I love her so much. So I'm starting to feel pushy. I throw up once more. Don't know when that happened, but I remember throwing up one more time. And then there's a nurse in there trying to get me in different positions. So I tried to do like a squat position on the bed, which holy shit, so intense. Oh God, like, and then you have to adjust in between contractions. And there's so much energy you're expending in a contraction. Adjusting at any point is so uncomfortable. And now he's really low. And I feel like I can't even move. So that was awful. I was like, this is too much. Eventually, I don't know how we got here, but eventually a new nurse came in. She's like, we need some gravity. I think you should stand up. Stood up, ended up hanging off the shoulders of Kenny. Like, we're both standing, hanging on his shoulders. And that helps so much. So the gravity plus me pushing at this point was helping him get down. So definitely was in my own zone, but I remember the doctor was in there at that point. I think one of the NICU nurses was getting things set up in the back area of the room and they were putting mats down. I'm thinking about this after, so they knew it was soon. They're trying to coach me how to push. I've never done this before, so I'm like, how do you push? But thank God I didn't have to have the epidural because I felt everything and I felt like I was in so much control with the pushing. I felt like I knew what my body needed. And it was such a good feeling to feel in control and know that my pushing was actually making a difference. Anyway, I ended up getting back on the bed on my back, which was not the position I was imagining delivering him on, but it worked, so who cares? I'm pushing, pushing, pushing. I'm feeling very close now. It feels like a watermelon is coming down my vagina. Like, legit. I was like, is this a watermelon? I can't take this. No. But I was pushing and I was making progress, but you make progress and then he kind of comes back out, like in. You push, push, push through a contraction, he's coming down, and then when you're done with the contraction, he kind of gets sucked back up a little bit. So it's very slow progress. So he's getting really close. At one point, I don't know, man. It's just the power that I felt pushing and like feeling him come down was super, super empowering. Like, I am literally pushing my baby out and I can feel him coming down into my vagina and out into this world. It was the weirdest thing. I'm so glad I did not have to have the epidural. Um at this point, I'm pushing. Finally someone's like, "I can see his head. Like, your baby's coming. Like, he's here. Like, reach down and feel his head." So I reached down and like felt, and honest to God, I was like, what am I touching? This feels so weird. He had quite a bit of hair. I mean, like a lot of hair, and all it's like he's been in amniotic fluid this whole time and pushed through my vagina, so it's like a weird feeling. Like, oh, cool, like that's him. It wasn't like a magical moment because in my head I'm like, oh, what is this? But it was exciting, and I was like, okay, he's coming. He's almost here. Like, I can do this. And Kenny at this point was such a rock star. He helped me so much at the end because I was pushing at the end of the contraction, but I was kind of letting go too soon, I realized. So he could see him coming out and then kind of coming back in. And he's like, Kayla, just keep pushing. Give it like 2 more seconds at the end. And whatever he was saying, something to that effect, helped me so much because at that point I was like just giving all my strength and really pushing into it. And I could feel like major progress. And it was so motivating. So I don't know how many more times I pushed, but regardless, I felt him crowning because I could feel some burning sensation. And I almost like I wanted to give up at that moment and stop pushing because my contraction was kind of over. But in my head, I was like, I don't want to be stuck in this position with burning. So I just gave it a couple more like seconds of pushing and bearing down, and his head came out. It was the weirdest feeling. It was so beautiful, and I felt so accomplished because I knew the head was the hardest part. I was very much looking forward to a second to breathe, have the next contraction, push his body out. Unfortunately, this is the one part that I didn't love so much. The midwife, OBGYN, like the hospital's doctor who had to deliver the baby, um, ended up turning his head and pulling him out essentially, like pulling his shoulders out, which I didn't love because that is when I had a slight tear, um, just a first degree tear. And I literally said like, ow, 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 that hurts. That was the one time it was not just pressure and uncomfortable, like just super, like there's a difference between pressure and actual pain. And that was the time that it was painful. So I'm a little like bitter about that. So I'm trying to work through that. But it was cool because Kenny was there to catch him and he had his hands on him. And as soon as she did turn his head and pull his shoulders out, he just came like kind of like slippery, just kind of fell out at that point because the shoulders are the biggest part. So once you get those out, it's kind of like, woo, it's, he's here. So Kenny was able to put him on my chest. He did have the umbilical cord around his neck, but it was really loose. So they just took it off. It was not a problem. And the other thing that I found out was that he was sunny side up, which means instead of his head, like his face was facing up towards, towards the ceiling. It's supposed to be facing down because when it's facing down, our spines are opposite. But when he's facing up, his spine was basically coming down on my spine on the way down, which is why I was having back labor. So that made more sense. I was having back labor because he was sunny side up. But I was like so grateful and happy. And I just remember saying, my baby. And it was like the weirdest thing. I was like, you don't look anything like I was expecting you to look. But he cried immediately. And he had a lot of vernix on him, which is like that white stuff. And the nurse was trying to like wipe it off and get him clean. And I said, please don't do that. Like, I want to just keep him here. Like, I love this moment. Just let me take a second. So they were good about that. But yeah, I pushed for an hour. At this point, he came at 8:50 a.m. So basically, this is 8:50 a.m. on the 19th. So from the time my water broke, it was about 37 hours. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, 37 hours. He was there though, and it was beautiful. Not quite long after that, I delivered the placenta, which was weird. I didn't think it was going to happen so fast, but that came out with a couple pushes. It was so mild compared to everything else, but it was kind of weird. But it felt like relieving once it was out. But yeah, you have to deliver your placenta too. It's not just the baby. It is bigger than I was expecting. Like the size of my head in like organ form. So yeah, that's how he was born. There's more to the story with recovery and what happened in the hospital with him, but he was great. They had to keep an eye on him with, because he was early, but luckily he didn't have to go to the NICU or anything. But yeah, 37 hours, 1 hour pushing, Pitocin, no epidural, sunny side up. I was very happy with the circumstances that we were put in. So that's the story of how Caden was born.
I'm obsessed with this story. Okay, these are I was taking notes while you were talking because I didn't want to interrupt your flow. First things first, I am in awe of your commitment to getting barbecue. I can't believe that you figured out that your water broke and you thought you should still go get barbecue. What?
I was in denial.
I need to know what your last meal was.
Barbecue.
Yeah. Like, what did you get?
Oh, I got nachos and they weren't even good.
Ugh,
They were like pulled pork nachos. And I was so sick to my stomach because now everything was happening. I didn't really eat a lot. It was really sad.
okay. I still love that though. Oh, number two, I'm obsessed with your live action notes. Like I can literally just see you like with your
Hey,
phone.
I was doing it for you turkeys and me, but a lot of it was I want to have a good birth story with like detailed notes. So I was literally taking notes all the way up until I could not function anymore mentally.
I'm so amazed with this. I love that so much. Oh, did you have any music?
You know, it's funny. I had a whole two playlists made, one like upbeat playlist, one slow like relaxing playlist, and I didn't use either one of them.
That's so
I don't know
interesting.
what I was doing, but I didn't have any music going. The TV wasn't going. I was just I don't know, I was just in my head, I guess.
I mean, there's a lot going on. But did
Yeah.
you have like any songs you were thinking in your head?
Nope.
I
No.
don't know, it just made me think of that when Kenny did his What's Your Name?
Oh yeah. No, no, I had nothing in my head. I thought
I
about music. I had my headphones, but I never used them.
I loved Kenny before this story, but I love him so much more now.
I know he did such a good job. And he was so cute. He delivered him and everything,
I mean, we
like
knew he
helped
was going
deliver.
to do a good job,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
but I love the details of how he did a good job.
Hmm. Oh, it was funny. One little side note in between each contraction towards the end, like while I was pushing, the running joke is every time I would end a contraction, I would look at him and go, water. I was so thirsty and I needed like replenishment. And so he should have just like had it ready. But of course, sometimes I asked and sometimes I didn't. But most of the time I was like, water. And he would like feed me the water in between. It was funny.
I like that y'all's like the personality of y'all's relationship is
I,
obviously like the core of your relationship and it lasted through what has had to have been the most stressful and like intense thing you guys have been through yet so far as a couple.
uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. I did squeeze his hand really, really hard at the end, which didn't hurt him at all. But luckily, I was kind of worried I was going to be a bitch and just be like, don't touch me, or oh my God, I can't, just like being so in distress a little bit that I was going to be a bitch towards people. But I was so nice, even with the nurses, even though I didn't want to be there. I was like, thank you so much. Everyone was saying, you're being way too polite, like during labor. There was this starting me on Pitocin. I was like, thank you, I appreciate it. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm just trying to be nice because if I'm not nice, then I'm going to realize this is not what I wanted. And yeah, I just had to keep a really like positive attitude to get through it because, it was so different than my original plan.
Are you so impressed with yourself? Because I'm so impressed with you.
I kind of am, and I'm not going to lie. So, two things got me motivated to continue without the epidural. One was my research and knowledge on how the recovery is better without an epidural, and I wanted to be able to feel the pushing so I was less likely to tear. This is not me advising anyone, it's just my personal want and desire. Kenny motivated me with his pep talk. But the other reason in my head, I was like, I want to go back and tell this story and tell people I didn't get the epidural. I was like, I need to prove to not only myself, but to everyone else. I don't know why it was such a thing. I was like, I want to be the one to say I didn't get an epidural. I don't know. But hey, it helped me. It motivated me to stick with it. But it was definitely like an external reward that was kind of motivating me, which is a little vain, but whatever.
Whatever, dude. It's the same like undercurrent that we've talked about of the like you don't know me.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I gotta go back to Kaylee and tell these podcast people that I did it with an epidural.
I mean, no one would have judged you if you did, but now that we know that that's the outcome, I'm so. I mean, I didn't doubt you for a minute because I've seen you go into like Kayla beast mode,
Mm-hmm.
so I knew that it wasn't gonna. I knew it was gonna happen the way you wanted it to happen because I've seen you like set your mind on something and do what you want to do. But I love that so much. I love hearing how it actually played out.
Well, it makes me feel better because the next one, like if I can do it in a hospital without being able to labor in the shower where I wanted to, without being able to, move around with Pitocin, but still do it naturally, was like, if I can do it that way, then the second time, if I can make it to 40 weeks or even 37 weeks, I can for sure do it at home with no, medicine. Because you don't know until you go through it. But now that I did it, I was like, oh, I for sure can do it at home next time then.
Oh
Hopefully.
yeah. And Kenny knows he can for sure like support
Yes.
you the way you need to too.
He feels better too. So that's good. So
Oh,
yeah.
what else was I gonna say? There was something. Oh, well, it's good to know that even on your worst day in life, you know that you can be nice because you were nice while you were laboring.
I know. I was
So
kind of
if you're
surprised
ever
with
worried you have
myself.
some type of like character flaw that makes you a bitch, you know you don't. Or at
I know.
least
Sometimes I
you
wonder.
know that you have control. Like you choose
Yes.
to like get angry when you need to get angry. Because I think if ever there were a time to be a bitch, it would be when all of your plans fell apart and nothing happened the way you wanted it to, and you're in pain and you're overtired.
Mm-hmm. If I let myself be negative and be a bitch, it would have been a lot worse, I think, mentally.
Yeah, it's true. You probably like gave yourself the energy that you needed.
Mm-hmm.
I
But yeah,
wish I
man,
had like I don't have anything good to say because there's there's nothing to say about it. I just
it's
want to like
so
give you a hug
crazy.
and like touch his feet.
His is so precious. So yeah, it was a wild ride. I'm very grateful for how it went under the circumstances that it had, that it went. Um, yeah,
I,
I'm proud of myself.
I
I'll say that.
if there's any medical professionals listening, the thing that stood out to me is that your doctor knew enough and was like in tune enough with you as the patient to start off the Pitocin conversation saying, "This is your
Hmm.
decision."
Fun fact, that was the third doctor that we had. The first doctor that we had, right when we got there at midnight, basically said, well, your water broke, so we'd probably start you on Pitocin. And I said, I'd like to wait. Literally just got here. I was nice about it, but in my head, I'm like, no, I'm gonna wait. We'll see how this goes because I knew I had at least 24 hours before they were gonna really press me. So the first doctor actually, as soon as I got in there, was like, we should probably start Pitocin. It's like, no, I'm gonna just gonna wait. And you just like politely denied things or declined things. Um, I just said, hey, can I do this? Um, I want to deliver the placenta. My midwife's going to take it. Please don't do the clamping of the cord right away, like all the blood to go through to him first. I want to do chest to chest as much as possible. So there was things that, unless it's emergency, you really have more power than you think when it comes to what's happening to your body.
I know you did such a good job of arming yourself with like the information because I mean that white coat syndrome is real. You know, like
Oh
someone
yeah.
coming into the room and
Mm-hmm.
I get for them, like just even her like trying to pull, I don't know if it was a she or not, but like pull him out at the
Mm-hmm.
end. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I get it. They do this every day. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just weird. It's weird that your biggest event in your life to date was just somebody's like Monday.
Oh, I know. It's wild. I think about that a lot. And I think about all the emotions that they encounter every day. It's kind of crazy.
It is crazy. But I'm glad that when it was time to push, that the person that was in there knew enough to say, like, you have control. Here's
Mm-hmm.
here's how to make an informed decision. And you obviously had a lot of information when you walked in there, but like I don't think that people realize how big of a deal it is, even when someone really doesn't have a choice, to make them feel like
Mm-hmm.
they have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, because I feel like in your state at that point, like it would have probably been so overwhelming if someone would have just come in and been like, "This is what we're doing," and like, look, the outcome was the same, but look how different you felt about it.
That's the one hard part. And it's not really the doctor's or the hospital's fault because it's just what they're taught. But there's a lot of unnecessary, unintentional coercion um, when it comes to stuff like that. It's just like what we do in sales. It's like the assumptive close. We're going to go back and do the contract. This is the next step. Like, this is what's going to happen. When really I should be asking, but that's like a tactic that we use in sales. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the same thing in a hospital. We're going to start you on Pitocin now. it's just like I actually have a decision in that. You don't get to just do it. Like you need to ask me. There's it just sucks because I wish there's a little bit more informed consent, but I think there's just a lack of knowledge out there for people to even think that there is a choice,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Well, and they've got all their quotas that they're supposed to meet because of
Yes.
how they get paid. So, like, it sucks that the environment is created that they feel like they have to hurry up.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, and
I
then
will
their
say,
routine is like a hurried routine versus I bet most of them, if they just had like time and space and it didn't matter
hmm
and they didn't have pressure of discharge and all that other shit, that I bet the majority of them would behave differently.
hmm I will say, shout out to St. David's, Maine, which is in the downtown location of Austin. I really felt like they were trying to accommodate me as much as they could within reason, and they did a really good job. There was only like a couple times where I kind of was like, no, didn't love that. But for the most part, they respected the time. They let me do my thing. I didn't feel rushed really at all until we had the Pitocin conversation, and she was very respectful with that. So, if anyone's out there trying to, have more of a natural birth or just feel like they have a say in things and want a respectful, environment, I had a great experience there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like, because you came in with a lot of knowledge, did you ever feel like anybody was like, okay?
That was another thing I was worried about, and not that I could tell. I mean, could they have walked out of the room and talked shit about me? Maybe, but I think because I was so nice about everything and politely declining certain things, which is a whole other thing that we can get into if we talk about post birth, was okay. Let me say this: labor and delivery, great experience at the hospital. Post birth until discharge, not so great. Different nurses, different environment. Didn't love that. Got super frustrated. That's a whole other thing we can talk about. But labor and delivery was good and
That's
respectful.
good.
Yeah.
I also think a lot of labor and delivery nurses are probably parents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think it's a different breed of nurse that I don't know for sure. I don't actually think I know anyone that works in labor and delivery, but I know for sure my husband does not. Like, I don't know. That's like a very specific
mm-hmm.
wing of the hospital to go in. So I would think you would have people in there that were like compassionate. But I mean, it's still their day to day. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
commend everybody that shows up to jobs like that and like shows up like it's the first day because I can't imagine.
I know. I know.
But also, you don't come in like an arrogant ding dong. So it's different than someone coming in and like not knowing their ass from their elbow and being
Yeah.
like, oh, I've read on WebMD. Like, you
Uh-huh.
know,
Yeah.
there's like
Yeah, I
actual
wasn't.
coming in like armed with real knowledge, and then people who come in with like, I don't want to say TikTok knowledge because I think there's actually like a lot of good information on there, but like,
I know what you mean.
yeah, conspiracy theory knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's true. It all, looking back, I'm grateful. Just it could have gone a lot differently, and I'm just at the end of the day grateful that he was healthy and came when he did. Didn't have to go in the NICU. Like it could have been a lot different because he came early, and I'm just glad that it went how it went for the circumstances. And now he's here,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's weird to think he would be like he's at the time of recording this, he's 7 weeks. He'd only be 3 weeks right now.
That is weird.
If yeah, yeah. Which I'm kind of glad we're over that stage because that was hard. We're in a better place now.
That is so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. In my head, you're still pregnant.
I know. Oh, one more thing, just to go back if people are wondering. So I had a small, slight tear, a first degree tear on the side because she turned him and pulled him. It wasn't like up or down; it was on the side, small enough where I did not have to have any stitches. So that was great.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah.
Do you think part of that too is because he was smaller?
Well, a freaking, I think so. That's why I was, maybe he was. I mean, granted, if he would have made it to 40 weeks, he may have flipped the correct way and it wouldn't have been so weird of an angle. But the way he did come, I am grateful for how small he was. Small. He was still a good size for being 4 weeks early. He was 6 pounds, 7 ounces. But I'm, yeah, I'm kind of glad he was where he was because thinking about him being bigger is terrifying. The woman's body is crazy.
I don't even think there's anything else to say except that you guys should come back next week and hear the to infinity and beyond portion.
The post birth recovery hospital discharge situation,
Yeah,
and then me analyzing everything. Man, it was a lot to process in the beginning.
I know. I can't wait to hear all that because I haven't heard all of those dates either.
I got you. Next
I
episode.
am so thankful that you took notes in the moment.
I
To conclude, I can't imagine staying up that late, let alone laboring. And also, your barbecue detail will forever be my favorite. And that he decided to like show up and that you were worried about ruining Kenny's birthday by giving birth to
know.
his child. Obviously,
I
in the
know.
moment, your brain is just like doing what your brain's going to do, but it's really cute to hear it out loud. Like, oh no, Kenny's
I know. That was my first
birthday.
thought. My first thought, crap, because I think there was an NBA game, playoff game on that day too, and I was like, we're gonna miss the game. I just picked up barbecue. We have crumble cookies. It's his birthday, and now we gotta go to the hospital and get this checked out. Little did I know or wrap my head around the fact that we were going to give birth to our child.
I'm also obsessed with the fact, like, that never in life would Kenny be like, oh, Kayla ruined my birthday because we have to go to the hospital.
I know he would have never thought that, but that was my initial thought. I was so in
I would have
denial,
done the
bro.
same thing, but it's so funny when you, like, play it out in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, Kayla, could you not have let your water break today? I just want to eat my crumble cookie and have barbecue, goddammit.
I know. I was really looking forward to everything. I was looking forward to it. I was very disappointed.
I think on Caden's first birthday, you need to, like, get barbecue and get crumble cookies.
That'd be cute. I like that idea.
Not that he's
I
going to
like that
enjoy
idea.
any of it, but...
No,
And
be
then when
sentimental
he can
though.
finally eat and he's older, be like, this is the meal that you... Not
Ruined.
ruined, but disturbed.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Except I guess not the nachos because they weren't that good.
No, but we can attach crumble cookie to his day of labor starting.
Oh my god.
So yeah.
I think that's all we're gonna... I think we should just... I don't even
Mm-hmm.
want to taint this with anything else.
Yeah, we can talk more about all the other stuff next episode, and then get back into the used random episodes that we're doing. But yeah, it's been fun. I'm glad I have a place to tell my story because it's therapeutic to talk about it because it was so wild and it's just a lot to process. So it's been good to. I took notes, wrote it all out,
I love that.
now told the story. So yeah, it's been good.
It's fun too because we've talked about this before. It doesn't matter if no one listens. Like, this is just
Mm-hmm.
going to be a fun time capsule.
Mm-hmm.
But I especially love this part being in the time capsule.
Mm-hmm.
And
Kaden. Oh,
I was going to say,
what?
we've kept it pretty clean. So, like, you could legit let
I know.
Caden listen to this and it wouldn't be
I know.
inappropriate.
Hey, son, if you're listening, you should listen to this eventually. I love you, and thank you for working with me as a team. I kept telling him, "Okay, we got this. You're doing such a good job. Just find your way down. Be easy on mom. Like, we got this." So it was cute because like I was like, "Okay, we're doing this together. This is our first little adventure together," and he did a great job too.
I held it together until now.
Oh, I couldn't tell if you were crying or not with the video. Oh no, you're gonna make me cry.
Just hearing you say son gets me, man. I'm
Oh,
so proud of you.
thank you. Oh, I appreciate it.
Oh no, Kaden, don't remember me like this. Oh god.
Oh my gosh. Okay, on that note, maybe we should.
I know. Oh my god. Okay. All right,
Thank you
everybody.
for listening to the whole thing.
Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next Tuesday. That's my new favorite sign off. I love you so much. And
I love you so much.
we'll be back next week on our sketch.
Yay! Back to the norm. See you next Tuesday.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.